Hi, Alex here from Redeveloper.com, and in this series I will be talking about LBTA components. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, what is LBTA components? Well, it is one of my favorite GitHub repositories, and let me just go there. Let's type in LBTA components and select the GitHub version, github.com/BHLVOONG Wong from Brian Wong, and this is what it looks like. And now, why should you use these components? Well, first of all, we are going to take a look at the UIView anchors extension and why it is so important that it is very handful and easy to use. Next up, we are going to take a look at the DatasourceController, and finally we are going to take a look at the CachedImageView and maybe take a look at some other minor elements of LBTA components. Now, Brian already has a blog post tutorial, well, not a blog post, a YouTube video tutorial on the topic, but I was thinking about creating a new playlist for LBTA components because I just simply love it so much. Okay. Now, let's get started and let's create a new project. So open up Xcode, let's create a new Xcode project. Let it be a single view application. Let's click on next. And I will name this, okay, LBTA components magic. I spelled that right. Let's click on the next and I will just drop it onto my desktop. And I will create a Git repository so you may see it on my GitHub page. Okay, let's create this. Okay, first of all, let's add this to our GitHub repository. Right click on remote. Let's create this on GitHub. Let's click on create. I already gone through how to use GitHub in a previous playlist, so go ahead and check that out. Okay, now we are inside master and I believe we will work only inside master. And now let us just run this project, see if everything compiles as it should be. As you can see, we have a plain old white view controller showing. Now, what we want first of all to create is to add a profile image view and then a label to it. All of this at the top of our screen. And for that, first of all, we are not going to use LBTA components. We are going to do it not the old-fashioned way, but the regular way with constraints. So let's go into our view controller, and inside our view controller, let's create a profile image view. So and I will just simply type in here with an image, and let me just add a new image here. I will just open up our assets catalog and find my profile picture here. Okay, pretty good. And so it will be named profile pic, but anyway, we will use here profile pic. Okay, now let's return our image view so we don't get any errors here. And what is up next? Well, first of all, we want this image view. Well, before we stylize it, let's add it to our subview. So we will add it as a subview to our view. So here, let's type in view.add subview and profile image view. Okay, Next up, we need to, if you would run this on our simulator, we didn't see it because we want to need to constrain it. So first of all, let's add here ImageView.translates auto-resizing mask into constraints to false. This really means that we are going to use constraints on our view. And now let's add those constraints. So profile image view, let's say top anchor, constraints, and I will constraint equals to, and I will just choose this one with an NS layout anchor, and that will be our views. And I will use the safe area layout guides top anchor. So it will be anchored to the safe area layout guide top anchor, well, to the top, and it will not be covered by that little, well, at the very top of our screen when we are using it on an iPhone X simulator. And finally, we need to add isActive equals to true. Okay, that is for the top anchor. Now we need to anchor it, well, let's see, to the left anchor. So type in the left anchor here, constraints, and constraint equal to, and as usual we are going to add it to the views, safe area layout guide, left anchor, and isActive equals true. Okay, and that anchors it to the top and to the left. We are not going to anchor it neither to the right nor the bottom, because we are going to anchor these profile image views width and height. So let's do that now. Profile image view dot width anchor constraint, and this will be equal to a constant. And before we do that, let's create our width here, and let's say 60 will be okay, and it will be a CG float. Okay, and I will just add it here, width. And I've added this constant because the width and the height will be the same. Before I do my width and my height anchor, and this is why I really love LBTAComponents, that takes care of much of the boilerplate code. And what I'm missing right here, you most probably noticed that I need to set isActive equals to true here. Now let's add our height anchor, profile image view dot height anchor dot constraints, and equal to another constant, and that will be of course again the width. And let's not forget isActive equals to true. Trained collection true. Good stuff. Now let us just build and run, hit Command R, and let's see how am I doing profile image view wise. And as you can see here, we have it at the very top of our screen. And of course we have this safe area layout guide, and we are if we wanted to, we can rotate this to left, and as you can see, it automatically adjusts to the safe area layout guide. And this is very convenient. That is why we are not using frames. That is why we are using auto layout. So let's take that back. Oh, not left. Let's rotate right and right again. And now let us just add this, well, let's add some constants to our, I don't really want to add it to the real top and left anchor. I just want to make it move a little in the screen. So for that, I will just need to rewrite these two top and left anchors. So profile image view, top anchor, constraints, and equal to, and I will just use this one with an NS layout anchor and a constant. So equal to views safe area layout guide dot top anchor, and for our constant I will just use, let's say, 60. And of course, let's not forget isActive equals to true. Okay, let's do the same for our left anchor. Constant equal constraint equal to our views safe area layout guide left anchor, and with a constant of 60 again, and isActive equals to true. Okay, and this is kind of what I really want to show as a profile image view. Okay, pretty good stuff. Lastly, I will just simply make this image view circle one, and for that I will just go into our image view, and after setting translates auto resizing mask into constraints to false, I will just set our image, and the corner radius will be the half of our width. So I will just take this width out here. Let's hit Command X here to clear it, copy it and paste it here, and rename this width to profile image width. Profile image width, and of course let's just paste it inside here and in here. And if you wanted to add here profile image, you cannot really see because the auto completion isn't telling us that we do have a profile image with constant. That is why we need to change this to a lazy var. Okay, and now let's try to add here profile image width, and of course we will divide it by 2. And finally we want to say image view, and we will set our image view clips to bounds to true. And one last thing, true. We want to set our image views content mode to, let's say, aspect fill. I believe that should be that should look great. Now let us just build and run again and see if this really worked. There we have it. We have a perfectly round profile image view. Now that is what we are going to build out, but now with a much easier way with LBTA components. And for that I will just close this project. Let me just close it all over, and let us just open terminal. Okay, because we are going to import LBTA components with the help of CocoaPods. So let's navigate to our folder here, and here we have it, LBTA components magic. I just simply drag and drop it and hit return in terminal, and let's type in pod init so we can create a pod file here. And let's open up now our pod file here with Xcode, and I will just select the platform, and it should be iOS 11, and type in here pod LBTA components. I hope I really spelled that right. If not, let's just copy out from the GitHub page. So now we need to pod install, and it will install LBTA components. Pretty good stuff. Okay, let's wait for it to send the data, and from now on we will use this LBTA components magic Xcode workspace. So let's open that up. So now that we are inside our view controller, let's use LBTA components to get rid of all of these lines and these translates auto resizing mask into constraints. You really need to add this all of the time and this is active equals to true. And I really like that LBTAComponents takes care of this automatically. So first of all, let's import. Okay, build has succeeded. Most probably this is just another Xcode glitch. Let's see if we can access LBTAComponents. For that to happen, I will just comment all of these lines out and use our anchor views property from LBTAComponents, and that is profile image view dot anchor. And we should choose, as you can see, there are a lot more, but we will use the most generic one, and this one. So we have here a top, left, bottom, right anchor, top constant, left constant, bottom, right constant, and a width and height constant. Okay, and this is fairly simple. If you manage to take a look at what I have already done here, so we are going to type in view.saveAreaLayoutGuide.top anchor. On the left, we are going to add view save area layout guide again, left anchor. Bottom will be nil, and this is pretty convenient. These are optionals, so you can add a nil because we don't want to have any anchors on those sides. Now the top constant will be 16 and the left constant again 16. For the bottom constant we had 0 and right constant 0 if we don't want to add any constants there. And the width constant will be, of course, this profile image width. So I just type in here profile image width, and the height again profile image width. And I will just simply comment this translates auto resizing mask into constraints to false out, because LBTAComponents, as I have already told you, takes care of this again. So let's select our simulator here and let's build and run again. Okay, let's wait for it. It says that we do have one error, doesn't really seem to find LBTAComponents. This might not happen to you. And of course it loads as usual. Okay, and here we are. We have our image view, profile image view on our scene. And don't bother about this, no such module LBTAComponents. It will probably not be on your case. So this is pretty straightforward, but let me show you why you really need to use this anchoring system. And that is because how easy it is to put another few elements on the screen. And I will add 2 more elements, let's say a name label and let's say a description label or something like that. Let's start with a name label. That would be a let and maybe add our font size label. Well, first of all, let's add a background color for this label so we may see how these anchors are set for these labels. So add our background color, and I will just add a plain old yellow, or maybe let's add red because you can see it much easily. Okay, now let's add this name label to our view. So first of all, view dot add subview and name label. Pretty straightforward. And now let's anchor it, and this is the fun part. Let me just scroll up here, name label dot anchor. And now the top will be the same. The views, well, maybe not the same. Let's anchor it to our profile image views top anchor. So I just type in here profile image view dot top anchor. Okay, and now the left side of our name label should be anchored to the profile image views right anchor. So again, profile image view dot right anchor. And of course we are going to add some constants to it, but let's just wait a minute here. And the bottom will be nil again, and now the right anchor should be of our views right anchor. So view dot right anchor, and now let's add our constants. Well, for the top it should be 0 because let's try it out with 0, and I will just lower it later on. For the left constants, let's say 8, bottom constant 0 because we are not anchoring it to anything. Right constant again should be 60 because I don't really want to make this label all the way to our views right anchor. Well, the views right, well, it just clips down. And the width constant should be 0 and the height constant should be 0 again. Now let's build and run again, and let's see how this looks. Okay, here you have it. Here you have Alex Knight, and this is our whole label. If we have a much longer name, then it will be clipped here where you see that the red background ends. Pretty good stuff. Now, one thing I want to add here is, now that we do have our profile, we do have this setup, I just want to lower this by, let's say, 8. It should be really good. And of course I will just take out this label background color. And one thing, and this is just for finishing this up, and it should be really great, I will add, let's say, posts. Let's see how many posts do I have, and this will be our posts label. And again I will just add in here, let's see, okay, and this time around it will be a system font, and it will be 14 of size, and let's change our labels font text color, UI color, don't have light gray, UI color dot light gray. Okay, and now let's add it to our view. So view dot add subview posts label, and of course once again we will anchor it. So posts label dot anchor, and now we have space that we don't need, and now we are going to add this post labels top anchor to our name labels. So name labels bottom anchor. Okay, left anchor, again name label dot left anchor. I really hope that you kind of understand how this all goes by now. Bottom will be nil again, and the right anchor will be our views dot right anchor. Okay, top constant, well, we will use 0 here, left constant 0 again, bottom constant 0, right constant 16, and width and height constant 0. And pretty straightforward, you don't have to worry about is active or any other thing. So let's build and run again one last time and see how all of this looks. Great, and it was done in just a few minutes. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and maybe give a star or watch LBTAComponents. And let me go back again. Here it is. And if you did like this video, go ahead, and of course if you really enjoyed this video and you want to find out more, go ahead and subscribe to our channel, because in the next episode I will be talking about the Datasource controller, a really good controller for managing and making collection view controllers much easier. So as usual, I will see you in the next one.